Hey y'all, I'm Kelly Hay Smith, and this is the Social Takeoff Podcast. This is where travel advisors come for marketing advice that actually makes sense. Not trends, not noise, just real, clear thinking, strong perspective, and building a business that actually works for you. Let's get ready for takeoff. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Social Takeoff Podcast, and Happy New Year. It is so glad to be back. And honestly, there is nobody in the world who is more happy to see 2026 and 2025 gone than me. 2025 was heavy. It was heavy for a lot of people. And I just really wanted to create something for New Year's Day that's kind of a reset. That we're really thinking about, okay, that is in the past, no matter what it was. If it was great, then we got to build. If it wasn't, then we start over. Like, I want a reset for everyone and even myself. And so that's what these 3 episodes are about. They're all about just resetting and looking ahead and building, and not even like, we're not throwing 2025 in the trash completely. We are simply saying that 2025 has come and went, and no matter what happened with 2025, whether it was growth, I've got to build on it. Whether I learned and I need to fail forward, that's fine, but we are resetting starting today. And here's the thing. I want you to acknowledge that you showed up when it was hard. You showed up anyway, no matter what that looked like. Could you have done better? We all could have. But you showed up when it was hard, so good job. I want you to understand that you tried to learn things about your travel business and your marketing. I want you to acknowledge that. And you've been saving ideas, and you've been trying to learn, and you have been working on your business. And today is a day that I love because it feels like a clean slate. I love the idea that we get to move forward. I love the idea that I love a good Monday. I love a good first day of the month. And I love New Year's Day because for me, it's just clean. It feels like a new start, and we all need a new start. So if you're here, if you're listening to this, you're trying. You are trying. You are showing up, and you're doing this for your business, and I want you to acknowledge that. But I teach and talk about one of the most difficult parts for most people in their business, and that's marketing. I tell people when I teach in Careers on Vacation that I have a complex because I feel like I show up and people are like, it's the marketing girl. I'm overwhelmed immediately. And I know I talk fast. Also, just like PS and bonus, I learned over the last couple months that apparently Southern accents are slow and Southern people talk slow, but people from Appalachia, which is where I'm from, and that's also how you say it correctly, Appalachia. If you don't get it right, I'll throw in Appalachia. That's how you can remember. But anyway, that people from Appalachia talk fast, and I feel like my whole life kind of got put into place after that because I have always been told, you talk so fast. How are you a Southerner that talks so fast? I'm actually from the mountains. I'm Appalachian. And so that makes sense. Anyway, that was a bonus. But if you're here, you're trying and you're showing up. And like I said, I teach the hard part, in my opinion, the part that is overwhelming to people, the part that people struggle with, and they feel like they shouldn't, because especially with social media, they're like, I know how to post on Facebook, but posting on Facebook personally and posting on Facebook for your business and to move things forward, very hard. You also are getting so much information out in the world. You're getting all of this information. There's AI. How does this play into my business? All of these things. And it just feels really heavy. There's so many platforms to learn. There's so many tips to learn. There are people telling you things all over the place. There are opinions, not to mention the fact that marketing isn't your only business. You've got to actually not just get the leads in the door, but then you got to sell them and close them. You got to plan the trips, and you got to maintain those trips while they're traveling. There is a lot to do when it comes to marketing. So I understand the heaviness that you feel like with it. By the way, I've got my notes down here, so please just like as I look down, bear with me. We're trying out a new spot. I'm on the couch in the office. See if this works or not. If people are annoyed by it, then it'll be fine. But anyway, when everything is starting to feel important, when you feel like it's important to be all over the place, when you feel like it's important to post every day, when you feel like it's important to learn this trend and that trend, and there's a new feature here, and oh my gosh, there's a promotion that just dropped, and all of these things feel important, nothing feels clear. Because if everything's important, at the same time, nothing's important, right? Like if everything is a top priority, then nothing's a top priority, because if you're looking at everything being at the top of the list, not everything can be at the top of the list. And so it feels really heavy, and you're getting a lot of opinions on what should be at the top of the list. And it just creates this frustration. It creates this pressure, self-doubt, this idea of, oh, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I can't do this. And I so badly want to take that pressure and frustration and overwhelm away from you. You don't have a motivation problem. You don't have a understanding problem. You have a starting point problem. Like, I need a clear path. I'm going to do this and then this. I don't have to do all the things. I simply have to do the things that matter for me, the things that will move my business forward. And that's really what I want to focus on. I want to reset for you on this New Year's Day of, I don't have to do all of that. I can do these things, and that is not just enough, but that is good. That is moving my business, and that's what I really want for you. So the other thing that I see a lot of, right? The first one, like I said, is it feels heavy. Marketing feels overwhelming. But the second one that I see agents tell me a lot is that marketing for them they feel like they're not good enough. It's not working. It's not good enough. And they blame themselves. They're blaming themselves for low engagement, if they're inconsistently posting, if they don't understand how this works. Like, what is a funnel? How do I take someone in at the top and get them out the bottom? Like, what does that mean? I don't understand it. I don't have enough time in the day. And that, you put pressure on yourself to do that, and you feel blame, and then it just starts to compound to the point where it's like, I'm gonna take myself out, or I'm gonna burn myself out. And the thing is, you have been handed pieces because of the inherent just noise on social media, and people make a lot of money talking about marketing to people. And you've been handed a lot of pieces of a lot of different puzzles, and you are being expected to make all of these puzzle pieces from all of these different things fit together. And that just doesn't work, because these pieces go in different puzzles. And unless someone is kind of guiding you and saying, this is the puzzle that piece goes to, and that's not a puzzle you need to put together right now, without that context, you can't put all of these pieces together. And you need to take that weight off your shoulders and say, I'm not doing this wrong. I'm not dissecting this incorrectly. I just don't have what I need, and that's okay. You have just, this idea that this DIY piece of the of travel businesses, inherently, people are DIYing it, or they're doing, like I said, a piecework here and there, instead of a whole system. And that is the nature of our industry. There's a very low barrier of entry, and then the training is good training, but the training is not normally business focused. The training is normally supplier, destination, and vendor focused. And we're not really focusing on the building of the business. We're focusing on the product, the end product to the consumer, but not the product that you give the consumer. And I think that is a really a big disservice in the travel industry, and we are trying to right that problem. So here, we've gone over the two biggest things that I see agents talking about, and the frustration and all of the things. But let's talk about the reframe. Okay, the reframe that I need you to understand is perfection is not your entry point. Progress is greater than perfection. And when it comes to perfection, it doesn't exist. It's not relatable. And we're going to talk a lot about that this month. But progress looks like a lot of things. It's progress in your business, that your marketing's actually working for your business and you're not just posting. Progress also looks like being consistent and setting up a content calendar that actually works for you, that you can stay consistent with, setting yourself up for success. That'll be progress. You don't have to be polished. Progress will look like letting go of this perfectionism in your head of I have to be perfectly professional and perfectly, I have to say the right thing and use all the industry jargon and I have to show up. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast now, not from sitting behind my desk, but sitting on a couch. I want you to see how powerful marketing can be when it feels like you're talking to someone in their living room, when it feels like somebody has a cup of coffee and it's not empty. I'm not going to do that. If I do that and tip it over, it's going to spill everywhere. But I want you to see the power, how powerful it is when it feels like someone is sitting down in their living room or their office, but not behind a desk looking out at people, but when you're sitting knee to knee and you're talking and you're building that relationship, even if they're not there with you, that feeling of conversation and not talking at someone, but talking with someone, that to me is incredibly impactful. And I want you to see how that works. And that's why I wanted to change things up and be like sitting here. You can't see my legs, but like I'm just sitting crisscross applesauce with a pillow on my lap and my iPad here with my notes and coffee in my hand next to me, and really focusing on showing up in a way that is like I would have somebody over to chill and talk these things out. And I think we have to let go of this perfection. Professionalism and perfection are not one and the same. And professionalism doesn't mean impersonal. And I really want to hit that head on. So I'm back to my notes. I'm not like, the setup is new. I hope y'all will be patient with me as I do this, because usually I have my notes side by side and I can keep looking at them. But also with your progress over perfection, you don't have to have it all figured out now. You will grow as you go. I tell people all the time, don't do this. But if you were to look back at my social media from 3 years ago, it's not pretty. I thought it was, then it's not. And I hope in 3 years from now, I look back and I'm like, that wasn't great, but you grew. If we don't grow, we die. If we don't grow, we don't move forward. We have to grow as we go. So don't expect perfection from yourself today in order to post it. Make sure you are allowing yourself to grow, and you don't grow without learning, and you don't grow without failing, and that's okay too. The other part of progress that I really want to see is I want you all to see yourself in your content. I want you to let go of the feeling of I don't look a certain way, my makeup's not done. I got a DM after I shared a story saying that they couldn't share their house like that because their house wasn't as put together as mine. Y'all need to understand that behind this camera, there is a pile of stuff. I'm recording this before Christmas that needs to be wrapped over here in the corner. That trash can needs to be taken out. I've hidden the cords under my turntable table. My house is not put together. A camera is strategically placed. But it is okay if you see papers on a countertop behind you. That's real. People will connect with real. And so allow yourself that you don't have to be perfect in the way that you look. And none of us do. Find a feeling, or find the will to allow yourself to be imperfect and connect with people in imperfection. So I think that is really important. So the other part that I hope you will set a goal for progress in 2026 is in your voice, in your experience, in your perspective, and in your way of explaining things. I hope by the end of this year, you see that you have grown in sharing your voice, your experiences, your opinions, your perspective, and that you have grown in the way that you explain things. I would set that goal for you if I could, because I think that that's so important. And like, we set these goals of, I'm going to post 3 times a week on Instagram and Facebook, and but what about seeing growth in the way we show up? And that's what I really hope you'll focus on. So as you start going through this year, you may have huge momentum in January. I always do. I work really hard in January, and then I find myself burning out come February, right? It's like that old adage of the gyms are full the first week of January, and by the 4th week of January, they're back to empty, and it's the same people who were there in December. I encourage you to keep going when it feels hard. And in order to do that, we have to set up foundations. We can't just set big goals, which I want you to set big goals, but we can't just set big goals and then like run at it full head on into a brick wall. We have to understand where to begin. We need to create that starting point. We need to create that first step. That's going to be super important. We have to identify what actually matters in your marketing. Where are you going to show up, and where does it make sense for you to show up? Where does it make sense for those pieces, those puzzle pieces? How am I fitting the ones together that matter in my business? If you don't set those two things up, you will burn out when momentum's not there. Momentum and motivation run out, and then we fall back on muscle memory, right? So we have to create these foundational pieces in our marketing of muscle memory that we can always fall back to. Strong systems, things like that we can build upon. So when things get hard, when life inevitably happens, you continue to show up because you're not relying solely on motivation or momentum to push you forward. If we keep trying, but we have no direction, we just exhaust. And so the goal for me is to help point you with direction. And my goal for you is to take that information and move forward. So this reset, these first 3 episodes that are dropping here on New Year's Day, they are to relieve your pressure, replace guilt with clarity, because we feel guilty of the way that we didn't show up. I feel guilty of the way I didn't show up last year. If I am being honest, this is as much about me as it is about you all. I am talking to myself. I feel guilty that I have dropped the ball on certain things. When it comes to this podcast, I haven't recorded an episode since the summer because life happened, right? And I hold guilt for that. I hold guilt that I see a lot of bad advice out there in the industry, and I stopped talking. I didn't keep going. I feel like I let myself down because I had built such great momentum and things like that, and I stopped. I feel like I let you all down because you trusted me and I didn't show up. And so I also understand personally on a visceral level the guilt that is associated with this. So I want all of us today, to replace the guilt with clarity. I've been working a lot on my own clarity over the last month, and I want us to replace guilt with clarity. I want to give you permission to slow down, to take your time, to reset, to think through and only focus on the things that really matter in your business. That's really important for me, is that I help you give yourself permission to take things off your shoulders. And I want you to rebuild intentionally. And if you're not rebuilding from 2025, if you had a huge amount of momentum and you killed it in 2025, I want you to continue to build very intentionally. It's not about catching up. You're not behind. We are realigning. We are refocusing. We are adjusting. We are resetting, and we are moving forward. So we're all taking a deep breath. If marketing has felt heavy for you, if you didn't have a clear starting point, if it has been frustrating and overwhelming at any point in 2025, I want today to be the reset. I want today to be your starting point. I want you to understand you have not been failing because you have shown up and you are trying. That counts. And we're gonna give this effort a different direction. So if you have time, go on to bonus episode 2 in this reset trilogy that we're doing here. And yeah, I'll see y'all there. If this episode helped you think differently, that's the whole point. You can find more support inside Wonderlust Campus or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for spending time with me. I'll see y'all next week.